Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Salt of the Streets podcast, the most pro-America, anti-government podcast you know. The show where we discuss news, government, and culture, and how it pertains to you, the individual, and your natural rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I, of course, am that big bird-looking fellow they call Colin, and I am obviously once again joined by my fantastic, amazing, beautiful, sweetheart deal of a co-host. How long can he hold the pose? Hi, Donovan. How are you?
I am fantastic, sir. Thank you very much for having me.
That's awesome. Welcome back, everybody. This is going to be a good show today. We've got a lot going on. There's just too much going on. Do you want me to do the topics? Do you want to do the topics today?
No, let me give it a shot.
Yeah,
okay,
you got this.
Part one, we got a couple of, let me ask you this questions. We have really a double grab bag going on, right? Part one, we got a little grab bag. Part four, we got a little grab bag going on. Part two, we're talking about Twitter. Right, all the Twitter files we're going to go over. Colin, in his beer show live stream about 2 weeks ago, went over the first drop of the Twitter files. We're going to be going over drop number 2 and drop number 3 today in their entirety as we can. We're obviously going to give you the liberty side implications of these things. In part number 3, we're going to be talking about authoritarianism around the globe and at home. We're going to be talking about China. Obviously, there's lots of protests going on in China. We're going to talk about Iran. We're going to be talking about things going on here at home. It's going to be great. And then part 4, we have another grab bag going. We got all kinds of stuff cracking. So what kind of things do you have in the grab bag?
Oh, you know what? Let me consult the chart here.
There you go. Because we got a ton of stuff in the grab bag.
So the first two that we'll get into, one of them is a local that has some national implications, obviously, around power grids and attacks on power grids. And then I'm going to fill you in a little bit on that giant conspiracy to overthrow the German government that just got stung down and shot down from Interpol and a bunch of international agencies. Because the story behind that one is awesome. So we just have to get into that. But then in our more traditionally sized grab bag, we're going to be talking about the rail strike and how once again Congress fucked over the unions just like they usually do when Lunch Pail Joe is, out there trying to get their votes.
I thought that Joe Biden was pro-union.
He will do that. He'll say that so he can get your vote. But
I thought he was the most pro-union president, in the last several decades, though.
He might be pro-union, but he's anti-American.
Hold on.
So if you're an American union.
Joe Biden told me that he was pro-union. What are you talking about?
Good, so you're going to have to wait until part 4, and I will explain in detail.
All right.
But we got some Dutch farmer action going on. Obviously, World Economic Forum and the EU's depopulation and climate change agenda is going to be in full force there, and the people have once again begun to strike. I know we've talked about that before on the show, but we're back at it again. We actually have some solid numbers from what the target points are over in... Let me ask you this question, because I heard this on a podcast the other day, and I almost died laughing as I tried to figure it out. When I say Dutch farmers, what country are we talking about?
Dutch would be Denmark. Right?
No.
Oh, fuck.
Those are the Danish.
Finland, then.
No.
Oh, fuck.
It has nothing to do with Dutch. There's no... Well, there is a D in it. Yeah, there's one D in it, and it would be the Netherlands.
Oh, fuck, okay.
Yes, the Netherlands or the Dutch people.
Well, that's no good, is
it? No.
Well, that is no good, is it?
No. It's a wonderful place.
Americans are stupid.
It's a beautiful thing. Amen. And then lastly, the other big one we're going to talk about is the Kanye West meltdowns. And I'm not going to call him Ye because Twitter is a safe place now, so I'm going to dead name Ye and call him fucking Kanye West because it's stupid. He's stupid, and I'm not going to call him his fucking name. I'm going to call him his other name, his old name, his dead name.
Before we get into any of that,
yes.
Thank you everyone for joining us here on our youtube.com/saltofthestreets. We also have our instagram.com/saltofthestreets. Of course, you can find all of this at saltofthestreets.com, including our Patreon, patreon.com/saltofthestreets. Go there, sign up, help us make more, better content just like this. We also have the beer shows I talked about. Colin does every Friday at 4:30 Pacific time. We have the book club live streams. We have the review previews. We have the newsletters drop at the end of every month. So share this video, subscribe, tell all your friends about it. Go to saltofthestreets.com. We also have our own personal social media. I am at Salt of the Street on Twitter and at alpaca_Donovan on Instagram. Colin is a big bird off you on both of those things. I want to remind you guys to evaluate and adjust your relationship with the CCP. And I think that's it.
Excellent.
So,
Excellent.
This segment is brought to you by Swell Blend.
Hey,
of
what
course.
episode and date is it? We didn't do
shit.
that.
God damn it. I was on such a roll. Could have cracked it out too.
This is my revenge for you calling me old all week.
I did too. I was kidding. The first time was an accident, and then I was just kidding. This is episode 139 of Salt of the Streets. This is 12:13 p.m. and today is Saturday, December 10th, 2022. It's our last episode of the year, just so everybody knows.
Yeah.
We will be back on, what day is it?
January 14th.
I believe so.
Consult the calendars.
Yeah.
Hey, look, we got
we
twinsy
go.
calendars.
We got the matching ones. Yeah, the 14th. We'll be back on January 14th for episode
Check.
140.
Boom.
In the meantime, we will have other content. Of course, for the Patreon, we'll have newsletters. We'll have the beer shows coming out. We'll have announcements for the book club because we're still figuring all that out.
All the things.
And, of course, yeah, we got lots of stuff going on. So,
Yeah,
check it
beer
all
show.
out.
Still gonna happen 4:30 every Friday. Possibly a change in schedule for this upcoming Friday, but follow me on my socials there to make sure if I have any updates. Other than that,
There you go.
I just might be driving a flight attendant to or from a place.
Ah,
But either way, it's happening.
deal.
Now, we didn't talk about a signal, but you could give me a signal.
With that, let me ask you this.
I totally meant to be like, hey man, yeah, just whenever you want, just give me one of those.
Yeah, no. So the first one is kind of surface level politics. Right? I got a couple of these.
Some rank punditry, if you
We'll do
will.
the first two, and then we'll kind of move on, and we'll talk about the other one. So, first one, surface level politics. Is Donald Trump the leader of the Republican Party?
Oh, that's such a
Yes.
such a question.
There's been a lot of talk, especially since the dinner with Kanye West and with Nicholas Cruz or Nick Fuentes.
Nick Fuentes.
I was watching Timcast last night, and they had one of the parents. Who's
Yeah.
from Parkland. So that's the name of the Parkland shooter. So that's why.
Oh,
Yes. So I was like, is this his name? It's
Yeah.
not. It's Nick Fuentes. So anyway, Nick Fuentes, who I don't know anything. Apparently,
he's a piece of shit.
Okay.
I'll tell you right
so
now.
I literally have never even heard him speak before. So
That's good.
I don't know anything about him. Apparently he's a piece of shit or like a Nazi or something.
It's
Nazis,
complicated.
Yeah, I don't know about those things. He seems to not be a good guy, from
Yeah.
what I can gather. I don't want to personally say too much. I've literally never even heard him talk. So I don't
before I get into answering the actual question,
yes,
I don't know. Nick Fuentes is one of those guys who's been so showy that you don't know who he really is or who he really isn't. But the persona that he embodies, the persona, if you will, he is a white supremacist, Christian nationalist, far right, kind of like that stereotypical, kind of like old school Richard Spencer, but like
Okay.
YouTuber style.
okay.
So that's what he does when he's on the internet and
Cindy
stuff.
Spence.
Yeah. So that's who Nick Fuentes is.
Okay.
Ideally, some people call him a gay Mexican. I don't understand why. I think it's because he's whiter than this can.
But his last name.
But
is
his last name
Fuentes?
is Fuentes, and there's a rumor going around that he is that he swings that way.
Yeah.
But either way, he's
dudes
a
they
giant
would-
piece of shit.
If that's the case, they would have a better political argument if they were gay.
Yeah.
Like they would appeal to more people.
Yeah.
Like the guy that was on Timcast the other day, 2 or 3 days ago, whatever. With
Yeah,
the
that
long
guy.
Hair, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he's wild, man.
That's a winner.
I
That's
really enjoyed him.
That's a winner.
I've never really been exposed to him that much. What was his name? Scott Presley?
Yes.
Is that his name? Scott
Yes.
Presley? I
Maybe
really
Pressler,
enjoyed
but,
Pressler, yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. I really enjoyed that episode.
Yes.
Yeah, he's got really long fingers and he's super, super skinny, and you could tell he's super tall, like some real, like you're not a octogenarian, but you're still Skeletor.
Yeah.
Kinda
And his
creepy.
hair was so long.
Yeah, 80s Metallica hair.
Real long
yeah.
hair.
But he was a cool guy. I like him. But no, I do not believe that Donald Trump maybe. I don't know.
That's a good one, huh?
It's because it's all in perception. I don't think there is such a thing as the Republican Party. right now.
Okay.
There's not a cohesive single unit known as the Republican Party.
Right.
There are definitely factions involved, but I think the party itself is in the midst of multiple civil wars. It's fractioning to no end. Donald Trump is certainly the leader, the thought leader behind a portion of it. But there is no leader on the other side, so he's about the closest thing you can get. Mitch McConnell's not leading anybody. Kevin McCarthy's not leading anybody. On the Trumpy side, you got people like Jim Jordan and Matt Gaetz and stuff like that, who all personify some aspect of leadership, and they act out roles as if they are leaders in some capacity. So maybe through that definition, I'll say, yeah, Trump is the leader of the party. But there has to be a cohesive party for there to be a leader, which I do not believe there is.
Yeah.
Boom. That's it.
No, I like it.
That's
I think
the money shot.
You talked yourself to what my answer is, essentially, is that I don't think that there is a leader of the Republican Party right now because there are so many people who are jockeying for that position. But if you had to pick one, it would be Donald Trump because he is, I think, the only person with the ability. Not gonna do it because he's way too far up his own ass. But the only person on that side with the ability to rally enough people behind him to get a win. If he moderated himself and he got his shit together, I think he absolutely could win. He absolutely could win a second term. But he's way too deep in the bullshit for him to go back and try and rally enough people, like I said, on a moderate standpoint, to actually win.
Okay. Well, let me spin this real quick just to add a second avenue to that question. Regardless of where he stands personally on where if he's going to run or not, do you see Ron DeSantis possibly being somebody that can fill kind of the opposite side of leadership in the GOP of Trump, like somebody that could lead instead of Trump?
I think
and
that
maybe act as a more unifying individual.
I think the potential is there for that, but I believe that the fighting that will happen between Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump in a Republican primary
would be bad.
will tear apart the base that Ron DeSantis has to hold together to try and win. And if he's not able to convince the Donald Trump Republicans to vote for him, then he cannot get it done.
Yeah, I think if that was to actually happen, man, and the two of them are like in a race against each other. I mean, if the GOP is in a civil war now, we're escalating to World War III to include the use of WMDs in that party warfare.
Yeah,
that would get dirty, and it would usher in, I think, at least another 4 to 8 years of Democratic control.
You almost the real win would be if you could get them on the same ticket, but I don't think any possible way to get the two of them. I think there's too much BDE involved. You can't be doing that. The only way it could feasibly be done is with DeSantis as vice president, and I don't think that he would take vice president. Only if he was somehow assured that the following term he would be the guy. Like that would be the only way. We'll say we're going to give T-Dog one more term. We're going to give him the last term. You're going to come in and be VP, and then when he's done, we're going to run you as the candidate, and you will be the guy. And we're just going to run the country so dope style for the next 4 years that we're going to shoo in a Republican victory in the next presidency. That would be the only way that I could see that possibly happening. But I mean, Ron DeSantis is young enough that that's a feasible plan.
He's chilling.
You know, that's a feasible plan. He doesn't. This is not his only chance to be president. If he doesn't win now, it's not like he's fucking Bernie or something.
I think take on this is what DeSantis could do just to have fun with it. Like he could take on the role of Dick Cheney and have one of the most active vice presidencies there is, essentially running cover for the president. So that he can get the W that he wants, he can serve his last term, exactly, and then just kind of be involved in all the bullshit that is going to happen. Well, Ronnie D goes in the background, goes on all the overseas trips, does all the handshaking, the babies, the coercing of votes, and getting shit done, and talking to the people very, very actively.
What we were all afraid Kamala Harris was going to do.
Yes, and then she tried, and we all just laughed at her.
because
Yeah.
he has the juice to actually do that, you know?
Yeah.
She doesn't have the political juice,
No, dude.
obviously, to come in and get anything done. But
Do vice presidents debate, right? At some point, when
I
there's
believe
two,
so, yeah.
when there's two leading ones, that would be epic.
He would absolutely destroy her.
DeSantis Harris. Oh,
He would
my
absolutely
God.
destroy her.
That's a pay-per-view I'd pay for.
Oh, 100%. It would be worth the money. It would be
Hard,
worth
yeah.
$5-10,
Yeah.
to be able to watch on the
Hey,
internet.
let's get dark money out of politics, bro. Let's make it all pay for play, and everybody tune in. Pay your $20 on whatever. You could do it on the internet.
Yeah.
Fuck, I missed.
It would be
Go ahead.
it would be like that one clip between Tulsi and Harris, but just for a whole debate.
Yes,
You know, for an
it would
entire
be
debate.
like a whole 90 minutes,
Yeah.
man. Please.
Be like, that's really funny that you said that about drugs because
Oh,
you missed what?
I missed the Your Mom's House holiday live special was on
Yeah.
last night. I
Yes, it
totally
was.
missed that.
We talked about it. Jordan and I talked about it.
I might
and
rent it though, because it's supposed to be up. I think.
I think for a week or something like
Yeah.
that, you can buy it. I'm very interested, but I would want to watch it the night of, and we would have to not have our children. Like, we
Yeah.
would have to make an event out of that event
Yes,
for us. That
and
we would
with
have to
no
be like,
kids.
yeah, we're gonna get dinner. We're gonna stay
Yeah.
at home. We're gonna eat dinner beforehand because I don't want to throw up while
Exactly.
I'm watching the thing. Like, yeah. So
So I saw a couple reaction videos of people reacting to their, what do they call it? Their historic, like, heavy segment at the
Yeah.
end, and everybody just. All these reactions, just entire rooms freaking the fuck out. Stairway, no. Oh man.
yeah.
Oh, right. Sorry, I got a little sidetracked there.
No,
more
no, I'm here
more
for it.
questions?
Yes. So the second one is a little bit deeper, right?
Hmm.
So I'll give you some background to it, and you'll probably laugh a little bit. So I was watching Flagrant this week, and Liver King was on Flagrant, right? Did you watch the Liver King episode of Flagrant?
No.
I can't recommend it enough,
'Kay.
right? So Liver King, if you guys don't know who Liver King is, online personality, eat the liver, blah, 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 ancestral tenants, all this stuff, right? And he was saying for a long time that he wasn't doing steroids. That was obviously stupid.
You've seen him before.
Yeah, it's obviously ridiculous. And so this week it was exposed, or last week exposed that he has been doing steroids for a very long time. It's like, oh my God, people are very upset. So he's on Flagrant, right? And he had what seemed to me to be a very honest conversation. It was very candid. It was very open about kind of the exploration he was doing about his insecurities and why he had done this type of stuff and why he was working out this way. And he was saying, he's like, I've been working out 5 days a week, 6 days a week, 7 days a week since I was in high school, and was using it as a way to cover up his insecurities, and like I had proved to myself, like I gotta beat myself up so that I can be like, you've earned this, blah, 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 right? So he's in the gym like 3 times a day, sometimes 4 times a day, and that's why he's doing steroids, is so that he can recover enough to continue to work out like this. And he's been working out like this to avoid dealing with trauma from his childhood of like being bullied and stuff like that.
Okay.
And so he's just
David Goggins style.
yeah, and he's just, now that this steroids thing has happened, actually beginning to look into his past and identify, why have I been living this type of lifestyle this whole time. So
Okay.
he's like, seems to be just kind of figuring this out, and so it did seem like a very honest conversation. And Andrea Schultz said something to him to the effect of, you don't have to destroy yourself in the gym to be a good person. Like there are other ways to find value in yourself. You should ask yourself, were you a good father this day? Did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? Right? So that made me think a lot about the different ways that I find value in myself and the value that I see in myself, and whether that was aligned correctly with what my actual values are, and whether those things are lined up or not. And I think there's a lot of inconsistency in that, in the things that I value as a person, but the way that let me rephrase it. The things that I think are valuable in other people don't align with what I think people find valuable in me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That I don't...
Is it kind of like you have other standards for other people that may not be the same standards you hold yourself up to?
It's not that I don't hold myself to those standards, but it's that I don't expect.
Generally.
I don't think that people are recognizing those things in me like
Okay.
am recognizing them in other people. You know what I'm saying? So the way that I stick really hard to like lying, you know what I'm saying? How big I am on like lying and stuff like that. I know that I am honest, and that's why I live that way. But I don't think that people recognize that as something that's valuable in me.
Got it. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That is very clear.
Yes. And so I don't have enough of a list to be able to lay them out right now. But my question for you is, where do you find value in yourself? What qualities of yourself as a person do you identify and say, this is valuable? Like, this is a positive thing.
Yes.
You know, that's my question.
Ooh.
And I can talk for a minute if you want to think.
Well, I mean, I'll just think out loud because honestly, this is something I have always struggled with, if you will. I've never been one to value myself pretty much at all. So I struggle with every day. I just don't generally think about it, and I get lost in the work of the things. You know what I mean? You just do the things, and you stay busy. You don't have to work on yourself. I literally had I had a very long conversation with my wife about this the other day, and it's. So I'm going to go ahead and say that I don't feel secure enough in. I mean, I bet you I could think of something. Like, I think I'm pretty loyal to my friends, probably to a fault, which is why I generally try to keep them to a few, because that obviously can get complicated. But, yeah, I don't know. I know I have lots and lots of work to do in that department, which is something. I just signed up for BetterHelp.com, by the way.
There you go.
So I'm going to be doing that and trying to actually do some work in that department, because I have never really valued myself necessarily, any really aspect. I know I have good things. People tell me that. I have friends, you know, family, you know. So it's not like I think I'm a worthless piece of shit or anything like that, but I don't consciously think about that, because I would probably spiral if I tried to do that, because I'm not in a good headspace. So, so yeah, that is a very interesting question that you brought up there. But yeah, no, I really don't have anything to bring to that other than the fact that my biggest, I think we'll say the one thing I know I can value in myself right now is that I can identify that I need to work on identifying the value that I have to myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like alcoholics, you know. I mean, you got to admit you have a problem before you can even start. So that's where I'm at right now.
Yes. So I was thinking
hashtag Liver King. What's up, man?
Right.
It was thinking some deep stuff.
Very good episode. So I was thinking like the whole way here about what my answer was going to be to you, you know, and I was trying to think of a real specific thing, and because I know there are the things, like I said, the honesty and things like that, consistency. Like, these are things that I find that I value in other people, and so I know, because they're core values of mine, these are positive things. I don't ever consider them, because to me they're just facets of my personality at this point. Like, this is just part of who I am, because it matters so much to me. But it is something of value because it's something that I look for in other people. So that is a thing of value, even if I don't regard as that or think that other people are identifying that in me, right? And I started to think about that.
That's a good deal.
I started to think about that in depth last night, because Jordan was talking about a conversation that she had with somebody else about me and the show that we were doing. And someone asked her about the show. What's the show about? And Jordan had a better spiel than I did, surprisingly. I don't really know. Something to the effect of, you know, it's about liberty and teaching people what their rights are, and going over things in the news so that people can see the way that their rights are being infringed upon, and so they can try and do everything they can to protect them and just live out the freest life possible. Something to that effect. She's like, that's good. That's
a good elevator pitch.
You know, yeah. So then she just talked about, she's like, and I just love you guys so much, and I love you so much. Like, I'm proud of what you guys are doing, and like, it's so noble and valuable. So on my way here, I was thinking about that, and I value my wife so much. I think that she's so great, you know. I think she has so many positive qualities, and so I thought about what she was saying to me, and this premise that I kind of laid out too about not finding value in other people, or people not finding value in me in certain things. And I think a really good starting point for my venture down this was, really having it set in. My wife is so incredible that if she is finding this much value in me, then there is definitive value there, because
Yeah.
she would not be wasting her time. She would not be.
Yeah.
She wouldn't do that to herself, because she has so much other things going on that it wouldn't make sense to her to be spending this
Yeah.
much time, to invest this time in someone who doesn't have inherent value. So
if you can't identify it yourself, you know that there is a there.
yes,
You just, because you can trust in that, because you have enough faith in other people.
yes,
And the right
that's
people, I should say. Yeah.
to me a good base, because accepting that, knowing that fully, I can't ever convince myself, well, there is no value. I don't have value, because I know for a fact I do, because someone else is seeing value in me. Even if it isn't the things that I find value in other people, someone is seeing value in me because they're investing this much time. They're investing children, a lifestyle, a house, all of these things. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? That's such a good baseline of like,
Pretty
now
solid.
I can't ever go back to you don't have value. There aren't
Yeah.
things about you that are positive, because I know that's not true.
That's a good thing to like realize. That's solid, good stuff, man. By the way, your wife is pretty awesome. Huge fan.
She's great.
Huge fan.
She's great.
And I mean, on that note too, I mean, like, given our relationship over the years, I think I can pull inherent value from myself due to that, because you don't waste time with motherfuckers that are downers in your life. So
see me-
I'm like,
you see me cut people, man.
you ain't kicked me to the curb yet, so there's got to be something there.
We've had, probably dozens of conversations about other people when I've been very open of like,
Oh, yeah.
this does not meet the standard. This
Yeah.
particular behavior does not meet the standard, and I'm only going to tolerate so much of this before I'm just going to be done with this person.
Yeah.
Like we've had many conversations like that.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of conversations with my wife of that same tenor, in which she's asked, like I'm not trying to question you, but I have to ask honestly, is there some type of wiggle room? Is there like gray area here? Is there like, for some things there are, but there are other things where there is not, honesty is one of those things, like lying. If this reads to me as a lie, you had just lied to me. So it's fine if you don't see it that way. If you don't think that that's what it is, you don't interpret it that way.
That's how I'm perceiving it.
Yep, I'm telling you, this was not honest. This was a lie,
Yeah.
and I'm not gonna tolerate that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
not gonna be a thing that's gonna be cool.
Yeah.
So those conversations like that should be like, is there really a lie? Like, do you really feel that way? I'm like, yeah, 100%. Like, there's no gray area. If you were not honest about something, you lied about it because you weren't fucking honest.
Yeah.
Withholding information, that type of shit, and that's not. My friends have to tell me everything. It's nothing like that. Not everything is my business. But
Just don't lie to me.
I would rather someone say, I don't want to talk about it, or I don't want to tell you, than say anything other than that. Anything that is anything that isn't the truth.
And
Either-
that's a struggle in this part of the world, man. I will tell you that right now. Being all over the world like I have, and living with different communities of people on this coast, the other coast, down in California, up in Alaska, visiting, I got a lot of European family and stuff like that. This is 100% like the passive aggressive. I'm going to lie to your face so I don't hurt your feelings, or possibly alter your slight perspective of me because I need to maintain this view that I'm putting out into the world. I mean, this is the capital of the world that I can find for that. This whole kind of Pacific Northwest area, for whatever fucking reason, it's that way, man. There's a lot of fake stuff, for lack of a better word. There's a lot of fakeness out here, and people will lie to you just to like, because they think it will like, because they're afraid of like how you might think of them.
Right.
If they were to tell you the God's honest truth, when if they actually knew somebody like you, be like, yeah, okay, whatever, that's cool, whatever.
Yeah.
Tell me what's on your mind, and we can have that conversation. But I probably will not judge you as long as you just tell me what's going on, and then okay, that's fine, dude. You do you.
I have to consistently reassure people that what I'm saying is the truth, because it's so
It's
so
not out
bold,
here.
it's so honest
Yeah.
that it's always like no, like that. I promise I'm not. Not because I'm mad. It's not because I'm whatever. But
Yeah.
this is the truth about how I feel.
Yeah.
So I'm just telling you because I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna be dishonest. It happens all the time.
What's really funny is like having this conversation. Think about it a little bit. Your personality, as far as like where the most amount of people that think generally in those terms, that are not afraid to tell you fuck you to your face, and I'm just going to be completely honest with you no matter the fucking cost. And Long Island, South Shore, old school, like think Jersey Shore motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Those people, bro. That's when I lived there. That was my first experience in like a really different culture like that for long term, and it was very weird, and I grew very accustomed to it, and I grew to appreciate it, which probably has something to say
Yeah.
about this. But yeah, no, I'm like, if I could airdrop you and just put you into South Shore, Long Island, you'd fit right the fuck in.
That's right. Funny.
Oh man, you'd probably get really irritated with how they say coffee all the time, but
Probably.
but they have really good pizza,
Oh.
and like from the just
do
the
love
most
pizza.
random little pop up corner store. Oh man.
I love pizza so much.
First time I ever had a buffalo chicken pizza from this place called Mulberry Street Pizza
Word.
on it was on Mulberry Street,
Thank
which
God.
is in it's a town called Lindenhurst on South Shore, Long Island, which is just one town east of Amityville,
Okay.
where the actual Amityville Horror
Okay.
House is.
The house looks like a face.
It's a house. It literally is just like all the other houses in the neighborhood too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just a house, man. You
That's
just drive
really
by
funny.
it. I drove by it a number of times. I
That's
lived,
the one, huh?
yeah. Because you'd expect it to like stand out, and it does not.
It's not like
Just
set up in any type of way. It's
Nope,
just
just a fucking house,
that's
and
just
there's
the
just
one.
people living there, and when I lived there, the people that did live there knew exactly where they lived, and they're real fucking Long Island people, and they're very open and honest and stuff. But they were super into like having people just come in and tour their house. They give tours to people all the time just for
idiots,
whatever.
bro. I wouldn't want to be living. I'm not like totally convinced of ghosts. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't want to be living anywhere where everybody who would live there would be like, yeah, there's definitely some wild shit that happens here. I just wouldn't choose to live there. You know,
Just be lots and lots of sage burning all
it's
the time.
not a place I would select to
There'd
live.
be some crystals in every corner, you know.
No, especially having purchased an old house. I accept, I'm like, there's, who
Yeah.
knows, who knows. There was in the closet when we were painting, there was like a false panel of just this foam tiling. I don't have any reason. I don't know why. I can't possibly figure out why it was there. But Michael pulled it down, and he pulled it down and he showed it to me. He's like, this was just up here. I was like, oh, fucking way to go. You just let all the ghosts out, bro. I was like, that's what was holding them up there at the top of the closet. Now they're all fucking free in the house now. You just let them out.
Oh my god.
So who knows? But,
We could make a really awesome like horror movie in your basement right now.
oh, yeah, bro.
That'd be so.
It's real
that'd be
sketchy.
so
Rust
scary,
running down the walls and
dude.
stuff. Yeah, it's
I
nice.
want that. All right, are you
So-
ready for? Yeah, are you done? By the way,
I now
Are
want
we
to say
done?
with
Okay.
one positive thing, and
Oh,
then the
yeah.
last two questions I have, like I said, lead us into like topics and stuff, so we can
Okay.
do whatever. I want to leave you with one positive thing on this topic of value.
Oh,
right?
nice.
Last week, you and I were talking. I was having trouble. One of the things that I find extreme value in you is your reliability. You are insanely reliable. There has never been a time in which I have said, "I need your assistance on this," and you've said, "I can't do it." Or you've said that you're going to do something and you've not done it in the back end. Never been a time. And when I was having an issue last week, I said I was my best friend. Love him to death. Having to be 3 hours late to try and help me move stuff. I couldn't get anybody else to help me because it's the middle of the day on a Tuesday, and I'm sitting there. I'm in borderline of tears because I'm so frustrated. It's like I just wish.
I knew it from like the 3-word text I got
Yes.
back. Now he's in something.
It's like I wish that Colin was here to help me with this because I know that we would be done in just a matter of minutes. This would be no
Oh, yeah.
problem like it would be. And I told Jordan later in the evening, I said, I also know that if I had called him and I told him what the issue was, he would have left work to help me with what I'm doing. I said, I know that he would have done that. I said, but it wasn't a serious enough thing for me to feel like you should leave work to help me with this thing because I didn't prepare well enough, It's like it just wasn't like that big of an emergency, but it meant a lot to me that when I was struggling, that's where my mind went, was like, fuck, I just
Aw.
want Colin's help. Like, if Colin was in a place to help me, that would be amazing.
Bro,
So-
the Thanksgiving show was last episode. Come on.
God damn it.
I appreciate that. That makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside,
Absolutely, brother.
which I guess goes with the Christmas theme of the day
yes.
too.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Which, by the way, You didn't comment on my awesome snowflake show back there.
Christmas,
it's awesome.
Christmas. It is.
Yeah, because I got this for outside the house, but I'm like, not really into those anymore. Like I did it 1 year and I'm like not into it.
It's good in here.
And I never thought I'd ever find a use for it. And last night I was like, I'm gonna fucking do this. I bet it'll look good. And it don't look bad. It worked out for the beer show. Are you okay?
Yes.
I just want to prepare you for the latest and greatest new. This is the pilot segment for what I'm going to be doing on the beer shows every Friday now.
Okay.
And if you're a fan of it, I made a stinger. I did the whole thing. And it might be
Wow.
something you'd be into for like.
Well, I certainly hope so.
Yeah, and honestly, you'll
If
find
we've
out.
invested this much production value in it, I certainly hope
It
so.
takes me like 5 minutes. Plus, I just make stingers all the time. Most of them are shit. But here we go.
No! God! No! God, please, no! No!
That was great. I like that a lot. That was great. I like that one a lot.
All right. So what?
You know I love The Office.
So what this is exactly? That's why I went with it.
That was good.
So context behind this.
Okay.
Twitter is a very interesting place. I spent a lot of time on there.
Okay.
Who would have figured that the old man of the podcast would be far more invested in the Twitterverse than the young man?
Dude, once you got on, your Twitter game
I'm
shot
in.
to the roof.
I'm
Yeah,
in
you'd be
there.
on fucking Twitter all the time.
I just need to start tweeting more. But
Yeah.
but yeah, there was a certain take that was given this week. I think it was Monday or Tuesday, and it caused a great kerfuffle. And it came from a man who I think both of us hold a great deal of value in his opinion. And I looked at this take and I was like, this is a bad take. I was like, I wonder what Donovan would think about this. And so that is the antithesis of this segment. I think that's how I use that.
Okay.
So, context behind this, right? We are on the internet, obviously. We spend a great deal of time on the internet, both in
Yes.
video form and on social media. And going back to the beginning of the show, I know we had talked about it in some capacity at one point. Like, well, what are we going to call ourselves? Are we going to go by our real names? Are we going to have,
Right.
you know, anonymity names and stuff like that? And so that got me thinking about anonymity of the sacred, I don't want to call it a right, but like the ability for individuals to act anonymously on the internet.
Okay.
And how that has both good and bad manifestations.
Definitely.
Which ultimately led to this take, because anonymity on the internet has been a thing.
Okay.
This comes from Jordan B. Peterson.
Okay.
And it says, by failing to separate the anonymous cowardly troll demons from real people in the comment sections at YouTube and other social media platforms, are enabling sadistic Machiavellian psychopaths and narcissists. And they ask people whether they agree or disagree. And that
Okay,
led
so
to...
what he's saying is because YouTube and other social media platforms don't indicate who is a real person and who is not,
Mm-hmm.
they are enabling the shit posters.
Yes.
Is what he's saying.
And like a sadistic Machiavellian psychopaths and narcissists.
Okay, specifically, but
Yeah, in his
essence,
words,
the
yeah.
shit posters,
Yes.
the trolls.
Yes, and he got roasted over the coals from people that really respect him for this and people that
Right.
don't. And it's a very good question in my mind. Is it good? Is this I mean, he will go on later on to have some pretty severe reactions to people on this, calling them pretty in his own.
He goes wild.
He goes hard
He
against
goes
people.
wild.
People would be saying like, this is a fucked up take on anonymity and all this, and he's like, yeah, coming from a fucking anonymous, Twitter troll who's like a pathetic blah blah, real harsh stuff, man.
He's crazy.
So obviously
He's wild.
he's in a thing right now where he's having a hard time justifying anonymous activity in comment sections.
He's always not liked that, though. He's always had an issue with the comment section.
always. He
You
needs
know.
to not read the comments.
Yeah. There's a lot of famous people that, and I, in the beginning of the show, had an issue too, but we have fucking 9 people who watch the show. Like, I think that we got a little it's an easier time, and then when we
Hey,
have 90
speaking of
million people, it'll be easier.
one of the 9 that watched the show.
Oh,
What's up, Bilbo?
Bilbo. I'm sorry to hear that, my man. I hope that you're doing all right since you've been in the hospital dealing with kidney and liver failure.
Oh, buddy.
Swaggins.
Bro, we're sending all our love to you,
Yeah,
man.
let us know if there's anything we can do for you. I'm sorry to hear that, my man.
Fuck.
You are in our thoughts.
Hopefully we can get you to laugh a little bit
Yeah.
today or something like that.
My goodness, bud.
Yeah, tough time. We'll be thinking about you, Bilbo.
Okay. Jordan Peterson. Right?
Yes. Anonymity on the internet.
Yes.
Pluses, minuses. What are your thoughts, generally speaking, on is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Twitter Verified's been a real big deal lately, trying to prove that real people are real people. Facebook at one point was like, you can't have a Facebook profile unless you're a real life person.
Yeah. It's not inherently bad. Right? It's not inherently bad because the further I have watched the progression of social media and the relationship that it has with regular people, right? I used to...
The normies.
When Jack Dorsey and Vigigati were on Joe Rogan, when that happened, I still was on the tilt of, this guy owns this company, we got to let him do his own thing. If he's saying that it's nonpartisan, then it is, but also if it's not, then that's their own company, and if people don't want to use it, then make their own fucking platform, blah, 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 right? Then I saw platform Parler get pulled off of the internet, and I realized
Pulled off
that
the fucking internet.
that was not as cut and dry as I thought that it was. You know what I'm saying? I always recognized the inconsistency in the free market aspect, that whatever comes next is going to have to compete with this first platform, and that's going to make it inherently unfair because they're trying to take the place of them that already exists. But such is the way of the free market. This is how things happen if you want it to be free, right? So as I've watched this go on, you got to let all this shit you have to let it all be. You got to let people do what they want on the internet. If you want to stop people from doing shit that's illegal, right, then stop people from doing things that are illegal. But troll accounts and stuff like that, I don't think it's inherently a bad thing. Not inherently a bad thing. It's not good because people use them for bad shit.
Yeah,
But,
yeah. And well, the other very important aspect to anonymity on the internet like that is not just for protection of trollery and stuff like that, which is, it's definitely going to be a byproduct of that, right?
Yes.
The keyboard warrior aspect of just, even if you do have just your name on there, we've seen that happen too. So that's always going to be at play. And that's one aspect of things. But also the anonymity of calling out powerful institutions, or, if you're over in Iran right now trying to talk shit about the government or something like that.
or a whistleblower or something.
Yeah, anything like that. I mean, I think anonymity on the internet is as important as the internet itself, because that's before we got to this age of the internet. The internet was always a generally anonymous place to be.
You never know who you're
Before it
talking to
didn't.
at the other end. That was
Yes,
the whole
that was the whole deal, right?
Right.
And that's, all the super deep people would be like, well, we can always have your IP address, blah, 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 blah. But even today, you got VPNs and all this to mask where you're at. You have screen names and things like that to mask who you are. And then it's just a matter of, dealing in whatever thoughts you're putting out into the world. And for a guy like Jordan Peterson to not identify the obvious, I think, and probably more important aspect of anonymity on the internet, seemed to me like a very emotional bad take at the time.
Yeah.
Like it was something made purely looking at the trollery of things, which is, it's anonymity on the internet is so much bigger than just the trollery aspect or the shit posting aspect or the even trying to do illicit things on the internet. The anonymity of the internet is sacred because it protects you from repercussions of your speech.
Yeah.
That's the whole concept. That's why for this week's bad take, I had to go with JVB, because I just don't think this was a real well thought out one.
No, and that's a good number one. That's
Boom.
a good place to start.
Hot dog.
I like it.
And this has been
No! God! No! God, please, no! No!
That's really good. I like that a lot.
anything just to hear that one more time.
Yeah,
Just
I like that a lot.
Oh, I love it. So there you go. There you go. Cool. So that'll be an Everyday Friday segment. It'll be fun. Or every week Friday
I'm a
segment.
big fan of that.
And if you like it here, we'll keep rolling it here. Why not?
Yeah.
Local stories?
Yes.
Let's do that.
Yeah. See what you got.
Let's see what we have here. I'm going to just be clicking off these tabbies here because there's too many of them. Okay, first and foremost, it was deliberate, power grid stations in Pacific Northwest fall victim to recent attacks. This is stemming off of, when was that attack? Last week?
Yes.
Last week, yeah. There was that big attack on power substations in North Carolina? One of the Carolinas, South Carolina.
I think so.
That put a bunch of people out of power for, like, thousands of people out of power for a long period of time, multiple days. I think it was in some places a week. A lot of people started to get their power back on last Thursday, which is a whole deal, right? And this, it blew up in the news because the FBI got involved because they said this was a deliberate act of sabotage.
So it's domestic violent extremists.
I mean, yes,
what they said.
It was domestic violent extremists, and when the FBI is involved, obviously there's things to be had there. This wasn't some local group of people that just did the thing, and as it turns out, it was not an isolated event. This happened nationwide, including in our very own backyard.
Yeah.
And so finally, we had a report here from King 5 News. There's a couple other ones, but this was the worst that I could find. So let's just read through this a little bit.
Now they're saying that this is like straight out of the white supremacist playbook.
That's what
right?
they're saying.
That's what they're saying.
That's what they're saying.
I never heard that before. To be honest, I've not done too much research into white supremacist literature, so I don't know that to be a fact. But
well, let's read this real quick, and then we'll get to that line, and then
even
I'm gonna.
Brad Milkey's like, that doesn't make very much sense.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. When Brad Milkey doesn't know what's yeah. All right. So critical infrastructure across our country has been put on alert after an attack on 2 substations in North Kakalaki. An incident that cut power to tens of thousands for days. Washington law enforcement sources confirm they received a memo from FBI warning them about similar attacks to power stations in the Pacific Northwest. The memo read, power companies in Oregon and Washington have reported physical attacks on substations using hand tools, arson, firearms, and metal chains, possibly in response to an online call for attacks on critical infrastructure. In recent attacks, criminal actors bypass security by cutting the fence links, lighting nearby fires, shooting equipment from a distance, or throwing objects over the fence and onto equipment. Some of these attacks...
That's the same shit that happened in the California one.
Yes. Yeah.
The California one that happened, I think, a couple of years ago, they cut the power to the facility and then broke in and then fucking shot up the tanks and all the oil fell out, and then they walked.
Oh, interesting. So let's. I just really want to get to this one part where they say white supremacist, because I'm there for you, and I'm gonna try to make a complete picture out of what this possibly means.
All right, I'll shut up.
Some of these attacks happens within the last couple of weeks. One of the largest power providers in the state, Puget Sound Energy, also known as PSE, told King 5 Wednesday that 2 incidents occurred at their substations in late November. We are aware of recent threats on power systems across the country and take these very seriously. We are monitoring our infrastructure and can confirm we have had 2 incidents occur in late November and at 2 different substations. Both incidents are under investigation by the FBI. To further understand what might be the potential motive for such attacks on the power grid, we spoke with a journalist who has spent years researching and reporting on the actions of extremist groups.
Is this the same woman that they talked to on Brad Milkey?
I don't think they name her.
Oh, okay.
Or him.
Allie Winston, an independent journalist. I'm
Allie
interested
Winston.
because they had a woman on there, and this is the woman that said it was right out of the playbook.
We're going to Google her after we read this.
Yeah, Allie Winston was on Start Here on Friday.
Okay.
I think, or this, sorry, I shouldn't say that. They talked to a woman on Friday who was supposed to be, an expert in extremism. So I wonder if that's the same woman, because she used to work for DHS. I'm telling you this. I guess I don't need to tell you this right now.
Give me some context, baby.
She used to work for DHS as the one that they spoke to, and that's how we'll know if this is the same one. Used to work for DHS, and now she's an APC contributor, and that's why she was on Start Here.
Okay.
Also, shout out to Carolina and Kevin.
Oh, shout out,
everybody. What's up, guys?
Oh, this is it. Quote,
Okay.
The trope of attacking power infrastructure, of hitting the electrical grid, critical infrastructure, is an old tenet of the American extreme right wing, said Allie Winston, an independent journalist.
I'll look her up while you're reading.
Residents of Klamath County, Oregon, were lucky to leave unscathed and with the lights on after the recent attack of their own. Early on Thanksgiving morning, we did have an attack on one of our substations in Clackamas, Oregon, said Doug Jones, senior speaker, Bonneville Power Administration. It was deliberate. There's no question that somebody meant to do it. It looked like they used something sharp to cut through the fence. That's designed to keep people out. And then, he just kind of goes on and finishes what he's talking about. So they have this is my problem with this entire article. They have one quote from an independent journalist who is supposedly an expert on extremist groups. And they drop the one line in there that says this is kind of an old trope of American right-wing extremism. And then all they're doing, other than that, throughout the whole article, is just talking about the attacks that happened, right? Okay. And so, as a journalist who is writing this story, they're inserting that because they need to give a little bit of who and a little bit of why to this story. And with one quote that is not even a full sentence, they're tying it to American right-wing extremists. I challenge you to think back. Over the last 4 years, who has been overwhelmingly responsible for attacks, violent attacks on not only infrastructure, but government infrastructure all throughout the country?
Left-wing extremists.
Yes. Why is this now being attributed to right-wing extremists?
Yeah.
I don't think that right-wing extremists generally have made a hobby over the last 4 to 6 years of breaking, sabotaging infrastructure around the United States. Every reported incident that we have seen over this period of time has been from the far left, from these Antifa people running around. That's it. And to have that one line thrown in there to paint the entire story with context that these are right-wing extremists doing all these things, I think is irresponsible at best.
Yeah.
Did you find anything on Miss Allie?
So I think this guy's name is Ali.
Ollie.
Actually, yeah, I think it's a guy.
Oops.
There's no way to know.
Yeah, how do you know that?
He's an independent reporter covering criminal justice, privacy, and surveillance. He's a former reporter for the New York Times and fellow at Type Investigations. His reporting on police corruption, right-wing extremism, and surveillance have appeared in a number of regional and national outlets, been recognized with several awards, including George Polk Award for local reporting. Ali is a graduate of University of Chicago and University of California.
He doesn't sound like he's a left-wing guy at all.
Yeah.
And obviously, if his beat is in right-wing extremism, then he's going to give you a take based in the idea that this is right-wing extremism.
Well,
he doesn't sound like a very, independently minded reporter at that point if he's narrowly focused.
That I just read was from the Daily Beast, and he also used to work for the New York Times.
Yeah. So, I don't trust this story. I don't trust the kind of the labeling at this point of it being from the right-wing extremist side of the house, because this would be a first in a lot of years at this point. I'm just trying to think back to like right-wing attacks over the last few years. I mean, what has there really been?
Jan 6th.
Yeah. That's the best I'm coming up with. I mean, you could tie it all the way maybe back to Pizzagate being a right-wing thing, but that was a single individual. That wasn't like a group.
Right.
But it is a right-wing group. These QAnon motherfuckers over in Germany.
Are you okay?
I think we're done with this. I just saw that. It really pissed me off. They're labeling it right-wing stuff. But this is definitely a right-wing story. You asked me about this earlier this week, I think.
Yes, but first I want to remind everyone to like, subscribe, comment, share this with all your friends and everything. Of course, we got lots of new people here, so I just wanted to know.
Oh yeah. Oh, and I have a button for that. I forgot.
There you go. Thank you.
Look at that.
Ooh,
Look at that.
there you go.
It bounces.
There you go.
So earlier this week, there was a massive sting operation done all throughout Europe. Dozens of people were detained by German police this week over allegations that a QAnon-inspired fringe group planned to overthrow the government and install a new leader in a violent coup. Germany's chief federal prosecutor, Peter Funk, said some 3,000 officers took part in raids at 150 sites across the country. More arrests were expected to take place in the coming days, authorities say. So, the plot here See this guy right here? This guy right here in the kind of like the tweed action there.
Yep.
His name is Heinrich VIII, Prince of Rus. So he is an old, long removed royal from the 19th century Russian royal aristocracy.
Damn, son.
Yes. And he is the leader behind this whole entire operation. And he has built up a large group of cells that all kind of have different hardcore right-wing kind of like cells all throughout Germany and throughout Europe. And he's kind of like this mastermind, all this stuff. And his whole key, what they got him on was they had a plot to kidnap, I believe, the health minister of Germany at that point and then hold them ransom. And ultimately their whole plan was to overthrow the German government and re-usher in the era of the Second Reich, which is before Hitler came around, before the Nazis, before Bismarck even.
So
this
they're
was the
not
old
Nazis.
They're imperialists.
Oh.
And he wanted to become the new king of Germany in the old school imperial German model.
I wonder if Imperial is just better or worse than Nazi.
I mean, I'm a fan of monarchs. I think at the end of the day, I'm there at that point. It's much easier to overthrow the king than it is to overthrow a modern day government.
Yeah.
So, might be down with that if you wanted to persuade me. But
Look at them black clad cops too.
oh yeah, the German secret dudes, they're badasses, man. I mean, they look like you all kitted up, all in black.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a bad look.
I
Bad
mean,
look for a regular person.
yeah, if you don't want to look like a Fed, yeah, it's.
Yeah. I get a new kit. I gotta
Yeah.
get a new kit.
But when you look at the picture of this guy and you start digging into the story, I was like, this is too insane. I got to tell you about this whole thing.
That's wild.
Yeah, and because what the hell? They're not going to overthrow the largest, most powerful economy government in Europe. That's not going to happen with a small group of individuals like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's especially in a country that's deeply involved in a larger, more regional government on top of their national government. They got multiple layers here, man. It's not just the EU would come in and stomp your dick into the dirt if Heinrich VIII rose to power and all his cronies somehow or other neutralized the rest of the German government. The EU in its combined force is going to come in and ruin your fucking day.
So I want to talk for a second because they talked about this on Start Here,
Okay.
right? And they had a woman from a German member of parliament that they had on, and they asked her about, what do you think about just this wild shit that happened, okay? And she said a really similar kind of thing to what you said. She's like, I didn't think, they were going to overthrow the government because that's just not going to happen here. She said, but it was wild to think that because they could have come in and like really hurt some people or killed some people, and that would have been really bad. So the thing I want to talk about is to compare and contrast, or really just contrast, the reaction from this woman who they just arrested hundreds of people in an actual legitimate, actually plotted out legitimate violent plot to overthrow their government.
Yeah.
And a member of parliament there is like, yeah, no, it was wild, but also they're not going to do anything. And people here, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, for example, who was in a completely different part of the Capitol than from what was happening, she's like, I was pretty certain that I was going to be murdered by the person who came to save me from what was happening.
And this was, check the timeline, well before any of the shit really popped off on Jan 6 too.
So she couldn't actually know how violent anything had been yet. But
or how violent it was going to be.
right, this woman who actually maybe could have died, right?
Yeah.
Actually maybe could have died had this been allowed to pop off. If they were able to execute this plot they had, she might actually died. That's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
thing. She really might have died. Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, who was never in danger of dying at any point in time,
Nope.
still says, I was pretty certain I was going to die.
She got PTSD, man.
And also, they tried to overthrow the government. And it really almost happened.
Yes.
Like, they're still saying that, and this woman who actually was in danger of dying, it's like, yeah, it was wild. You know, it was crazy that they were doing that.
But they weren't going to do anything.
Nah, they might have killed some people, and that would have been really unfortunate. She wasn't flip about it. She was very genuine of like it's very dangerous. They could have killed people, but also reassuring of, but they were never going to overthrow the government. Like that was never going to happen. You have members of Congress, active leadership in Congress, that are saying these people that we're putting on trial right now almost overthrew the government. They almost murdered everybody in here and overthrew the government. They took a shit at Nancy Pelosi's office and they almost overthrew the government. They're still telling you that. They're still telling you that. But this woman, this member of parliament in Germany, who again, it's got to be the third time, actually was in danger of dying. Actually, provably, verifiably, was actually in danger of dying. So yeah, it was wild. It's crazy that that's what they were doing. Yep. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, never actually in danger of dying, still maintains that she might have died, and that these people who are still being held, well, you know, for an undetermined amount of time, that they really almost overthrew the government. It
really puts some things into perspective, doesn't it?
You can't talk about it enough because it's so ridiculous. And the fact that ABC played it like it was nothing. Like it doesn't undercut all of their narrative of Jan 6th the whole time. They just put it out there that this is what she thinks, and isn't it crazy? But hold on, you're still arguing the Jan 6th narrative. If you do an episode on it tomorrow, you'll still be arguing the same narrative that these fucking idiots, these oath keepers, who we all regard as assholes, we all think they're fucking idiots, right?
And all going up on seditious conspiracy.
Pretty much all of us think they're idiots, right? You're still arguing that those people almost overthrew the government. But this guy, whose grandfather was a king, okay? I mean, what are we doing? What are we talking about here?
I mean, every now and again, Europe gets something right, I guess, right? If they want to do a coup, they're going to try to do a coup.
At least they really were doing it. At least they're really doing it. This guy's like, yo, I'm like a king, you know? So we should,
bro, I'm royalty, okay?
This monarchy is still legitimate. Let's go.
Oh, dude. Oh, one of the other really funny things, too, about this story, when I was looking into it, I didn't pull him up, but this guy, he's kind of been in the news relatively around over time, and he's always wearing the same jacket. Like, he don't have multiple suit money.
I wonder what the story is with that. You just think he's just not that well off?
I mean, I don't know. I don't really know. I would be really interested to dive into this guy's life and just find out like who the hell Heinrich VIII is.
Documentaries on him.
There's got to be at this point, or there will be. There definitely will be.
Just made by these people.
Oh yeah,
by these assholes.
Somebody call Vice right now. Get them on the phone.
Yeah,
get over there and make me an awesome docu-series about this.
The thing Vice would
6 episodes.
They'll pay all these black-clad German police officers to get interviews and stuff.
Oh, yeah. They could do them in their ski masks.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
They'll do a couple stories, one about this, and one about how they're, like, dealing drugs or something like that. It'll all be, and they'll all use the same ski masks.
Oh, yeah.
Just change their kit, you know. Rip off the police thing and put a drug dealer thing on there, and they'll be good to go.
So, yeah, that's fun. That's fun stuff.
Wild.
I like that comparison between the Jan 6 stuff and a God's honest real life coup attempt.
Actually,
that was way bigger.
You know,
exponentially larger in size.
Yeah,
I guess the major difference there, probably why they get to continue to use this in their narrative here, is because of the riotous aspect of it. It seems crazy. It seems more wild because of all the people that were outside and the mobs and the climbing of the fucking columns, and it was very, very different in how it played out versus
the optics of it.
Yeah, the optics of it,
because it's verifiable,
and it's all optics,
that it was a riot. Like everybody, everyone. That is still the dominant narrative. That even though there wasn't a plot, that everyone, the corporate media is claiming that there is, because there's no way to prove that. Even in these Oath Keeper trials, they're saying they didn't have a plan when they got there, but then they were there and they're like, let's go for it.
Yep.
Okay, so there wasn't a plot. There never existed a plot for any type of overarching thing to happen. Even the Oath Keepers that are being found guilty of seditious conspiracy.
So like 4? 4 or 5,
just a
maybe?
small handful.
Yeah, it's a
something
small
like that.
handful.
Yeah. Even these guys who are being found guilty of seditious conspiracy, right, who are being tried for these things, even they didn't have a plot. These people had an actual organized plot.
Yes.
It's just because that was a riot in a year where we had dozens of riots around the country where shit got wild.
Literal,
This
like,
one-
whole sections of towns being burned down.
Portland for over 100 days in a row. They
Yes.
attacked a federal building because this one was
Fire bombs every day
Yes.
for over 100 days
Yes.
straight. Let us not forget. Let us not forget the what was the date of the other insurrection? The leftist insurrection.
May something or whatever.
Yeah, when they
this
when they
one-
broke through the barriers and tried to burn down the church and
this one had special people
put Donald
inside
Trump
of it.
in the security bunker.
This one had special people inside of it. That's why this matters.
Yeah.
Excuse me, is because this building had special people inside of it. This one had really, really special people inside of it who had to put bags over their heads because they were so scared of what you might do. When in the federal building, you just had to go to work.
Yeah.
Just had to keep fucking going to work. When Antifa and all these crazy guys are outside literally throwing firebombs at the building. Just keep on trucking.
Just keep on keeping on, baby.
Yep, keep
Don't
on
worry.
trucking.
And if you try to send the feds in to quell them, that's just a sign that we've gone full fascist. We can't do that. So we just have to let this play out. The local state police aren't going to do anything about it, and the federal cops inside the building, if we try to defend ourselves at all other than put the fires out, then we're labeled fascists. So there's that.
If you throw back the shit that people are throwing at you, you're an asshole.
Can't do that.
It's too much.
It's too much, baby.
It's too much.
It's so much.
And ABC just doesn't see the irony in it at all. They play both of these stories with the same level of seriousness. But in this one, it's almost funny to them. You know, it's just so wacky.
It's so wacky.
Wacky.
Look at all this weirdness.
Yeah. The fuck, dude.
That's good stuff. Good stuff. Well,
Yeah.
my coffee is definitely cold.
Deal.
And it's almost gone. So I think that's a good indicator that it's time to close out this segment.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, with that, we can take our first break. We'll be back in just a few minutes for part 2 of episode 139. Thank you.
How dare you!
Oh.
Welcome to the south of the streets, coming at you every week with this food for thought. Hope you ready to eat.